Salvation. Chat. Man, I'm talking about Rodri. Rodri right now, bro. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day, chat. Aye, Ineos. Aye, I got a pep in my step right now, chat. Ladies and gentlemen, salvation. That's all I can say right now, chat. I'm mad that I couldn't react to it on the spot. I was about to go get my haircut. I promise you, chat. I was walking to the bus stop, or to the train stop, excuse me. About to board the train, and my phone rings. Notification. Manchester United. Update on Erik Ten Hag. You know that clip when on Sky Sports when they were saying when they announced Brendan Rodgers got sacked and Henry goes, he like grabs Carragher's leg. On my life, that was me. I saw the notification. I was like, I texted everybody I knew. I literally sent a text to everybody I knew. I was receiving texts today saying, congratulations, a big day for you. Congratulations on the good news. Chat, you'd think I got married today, chat. But that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like right now, chat. I feel like I just got married right now. I feel like I just beat a 30-year case. I feel like I just won the lottery. He's gone. Ladies and gentlemen, he's gone. What a day. God is good. It's a beautiful day outside. Not even. Honestly, it's gray out. There's clouds. It's dreary. But I feel like I could run a marathon right now, chat. Genuinely. Who's your ideal replacement for United? We're going to talk about all of that, chat. Right now, I'm soaking in the excitement right now, chat. I got my swagger back now, bro. I got my joy back. That's what I feel like right now, bro. Honestly. I feel like I've been like a corpse watching football the last few weeks. The only joy I get is from watching other teams. I have more fun watching El Clasico and Bayern and City and these guys. And then when it comes to United, I feel like a corpse, bro. I don't even give you guys match reactions for the Europa League anymore. I don't got it in me. But now, this little part of my life is called happiness. I can't believe it. Chat, I genuinely had no hope, no expectation that this guy was going to be gone. Because in my eyes, chat, genuinely, it's long overdue. He should have been fired a year ago. I'm going to come out here and say it. For me, the minute he got knocked out of the Champions League group stage last year, for me, that should have been it. If he wasn't to get fired a year ago, he should have been fired halfway through the season. 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Start of the season. When we lost to Liverpool 3-0. Then when we lost 3-0 to Spurs. Then when we went winless in 3 in the Europa League. And then the last international break. Last week, this week, yesterday, today. He should have been gone. Time ago. But you know how it works, man. Dread it. Run from it. Destiny arrives all the same. Erik Ten Hag is gone, man. Rival fans, I've seen you on the timeline. It's a devastating day for you guys today, man. I hear it. The source of so much joy in your life has finally departed. It's no longer there for you guys anymore. Arsenal fans, I know you're devastated you don't get to play us in a few weeks. You're devastated you don't get to have a crack at Erik Ten Hag. I hear it, man. I'd be too. That's like me when I was disappointed that Chelsea fired Graham Potter. Come on, man. Give us a few more games. But the tyranny is over. The day has finally come. Erik Ten Hag is no longer the Man United coach. Now, look, everybody has their opinion. I clearly have mine. And I'm unapologetic about it. Like I said, I'm not a club rep. I'm not a Manchester United content creator. I'm a content creator, an analyst, if you want to give me that title, a pundit if you want to give me that title, that happens to support Man United. I don't base my content around Manchester United. Otherwise, I do watch-alongs, I do match previews, I do every single match review, I do midweek talk, transfer. I don't do that. That's not my interest. I'm a content creator, I'm a YouTuber, I'm a pundit, analyst that happens to support Man United. So for me, there's no affiliation with the club here. I love the club as a fan. I don't love the club because they give me a check. And I have no interest in that, by the way. No interest whatsoever. So for me, I'm unapologetic in the fact that I am over the moon that this decision has been made today. And anybody who would even dare try shaming me for that, or has dared try shaming me that in the last few weeks, sue me. Sue me. I support Man United. I don't support any single one of these employees. At the end of the day, every single representative of the club, whether it's a player, a manager, a board member, the owner, the steward, the dinner lady, the person who cleans out the jacuzzi, they're all employees. Here today, gone tomorrow. What stays throughout is Manchester United, and that's what I support. So for me, just as easily as I can turn on a player, which everybody seems in agreement that we can all do, I'll just as quickly do that with the manager. For me, it's a business. You don't get the results, get the hell out of here. Let's get somebody who can. And I'm going to be very consistent with that, whoever we hire next. There's no sympathy in this. It's a business, and it's cutthroat at the highest level possible, or at least it should be for a club of this standards. So like I said, I have no shame in saying I'm very happy about this decision because I think it's the correct one for the club to move forward. You look at the statistics that have marred Erik Ten Hag's 3 years in charge, and they're absolutely a sight for sore eyes. Honestly, disgraceful at times. I bookmarked a few of them today. First one I bookmarked. Premier League goals scored since Erik ten Hag's appointment in 2022. Manchester City with 229 lead the list. Arsenal trailed them with 198 in second. Liverpool finished in third with 179. Spurs in fourth with 166. Newcastle in fifth with 162. Aston Villa in 7th with 146. Brighton and Hove Albion with 146 as well too. Chelsea follow them up with 142. Just below them, Brentford Football Club with 133. And then, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th place in terms of most goals scored in the Premier League over a 3-year stretch. If you wanted to conjure up a table of the top scorers in the Premier League since Erik ten Hag's appointment, Man United sit 10th place. 10th! After spending 80 million on Anthony, 70 million on Rasmus Højlund, 35 million on Joshua Zirkzee, giving Marcus Rashford 300,000 plus a week, promoting Alejandro Garnacho to the first team. That's what we were left with, goal scoring wise. Next statistic, Premier League goal difference in the Ten Hag era. Manchester City with 134. They closely follow up Arsenal with 114. Third place sees Liverpool, with 85. And then you got team after team after team after team after team after team before we get to Manchester United. So just to tell you those numbers again, first place 134, second place Arsenal 114, third place Liverpool 85, and Man United, you got to scroll down all the way to the bottom. You might not even have a big enough iPhone. You got to keep scrolling, brother. You might not even see them on your screen at default. You got to keep scrolling until you get to Man United, plus 11. So I repeat, it's a beautiful day. And anybody trying to shame me for being happy that my club has fired a guy who has woefully underperformed at the job for 3 years now, sue me. I'm not hiding nothing, man. I'm putting it all on the table. You know, with me, you get the truth, all of the truth, and nothing but the truth. I think that's the saying. And you're going to keep getting it. You know it's bad, right? When even Liban, who has been the biggest Erik ten Hag defender since day one, all the way through the 7-0, all the way through the defeats last season, all the way through the Champions League group stage exit, all the way through the Europa League stinkers. You know it's bad when Erik ten Hag's biggest eater, his number one side chick, even him, he decided enough is enough, guys. The storm, it's done. C'est fini. Finito. No mas. Even he decided it's over. And maybe Liban put it in the call, bro. He said, yo, look, man, I can't do this no more. He made the boss call. Liban London made the boss call. He said, I decide when this shit ends. Oh my God. I still see a few people on the timeline saying, how are Man United fans celebrating this? It's just going to be like every single other manager. I saw Angry Ginge. By the way, got nothing but love for Ginge. I met him a few times. Nice guy. Great content creator. But this guy said, what did he tweet today? I couldn't believe it. And again, I don't know if he works for the club or whatever, if he still got stakes in there, but in situations like this, I think it's better to just stay silent. I'll be real. Like, I'm not saying, yo, go celebrate that Ten Hag got fired. He said, wow, woke up and saw he's been sacked. Absolutely fucking livid. Whatever that fucking means. No, bro, I'm not saying if you work for Man United, by all means, protect your interests, protect your check. I get it. It's a business. I'm 1000% all for people making their bread. But I would just say nothing. Just remove yourself from the situation. Say, sorry, it didn't work out. Ten Hag, good luck on your whatever. But to say you're absolutely livid that a manager that has us 14th place after 9 games, winless, 1 win in Europe in the last 12 games. Come on, bro. Livid is the last word I would use. Livid. I don't understand it, man. Like, why are people so attached to managers? What makes a manager's role at a club any different to a player? We all slag off players, right? People were so happy when De Gea left the club. People were cheering when Sancho got loaned out, hoping that he failed. People have wanted Casemiro out for the best part of like a year and a half now. Who else has? People bullied, abused Harry Maguire. And I'm not condoning any of that, right? But it's not seen as like taboo if as a fan of a team, you like want a player dropped or we want a player sold. Like, oh, we have to sell McFred. You're not seen as a bad fan or like a wrong fan for wanting that. But when it comes to a manager, in the eyes of these perfect fans, and I'm not saying, this is not about Ginge here, right? This is just about fans I see who like, they like judge Man United fans. Like, oh, you're a good fan, you're a fake United. What makes a manager any different to a player? They're both employees of the club. They come and go. And if anything, it's easier to sack a manager than it is to sack 23 players. I don't get it. But here's the crux of the situation here. Genuinely, and it doesn't matter if you're his biggest fan or his biggest op. The shit I was seeing on Saeed's Twitter and his YouTube today killed me. But it doesn't matter in this situation whether you're his biggest fan or his biggest op. It's very, very difficult for anybody to actually come out and say that the decision made by Ineos today is the wrong decision. And Ineos, who I have a lot of question marks about, right? Because like I said, for me, this is about 3 months overdue, personally. I think the decision had to be made after the FA Cup final, regardless of the result. But ultimately, they clearly decided that either they didn't like any of the managers available on the market, or maybe they gave in to fan pressure. I don't know what it is. But me personally, I think they've wasted their time for 3 months here. But regardless, they wanted the Ten Hag to work. They gave him opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Any ownership would have fired Ten Hag before the last international break. And they gave him another go at it. This was a decision that they had no other choice but to make. The situation now has just become untenable. Even his biggest fans would have to say that. Like, you just lost to West Ham, and I get it, dubiously. 1000% I hear it. Dubiously. The penalty, the missed chances, I get it. Maybe that's not the one game that you look at to define Erik Ten Hag's stint at Man United, right? But if you can't even lead your guys to beat West Ham, who before this, Lopetegui probably would have been the favorite on every bookie and every fan's mind to be the first manager sacked this year. Lopetegui has outlasted you. That's when you know, bro, the situation's got untenable. It doesn't matter how much you believe in the guy, how many more resources you give him. He's lost the squad. The squad clearly don't believe in him. The squad clearly are not capable of following his motives, following his instructions, even though most of them have been bought under his regime. Most of them, which is another thing. Don't let anybody tell you that this is the same core group of players that are sacking manager after manager after manager. I think we did the tally. Over 2/3 of the squad were purchased or debuted under Erik Ten Hag. So we simply got to a point where it was untenable. There's no way in hell. I said it. If he survives this, he survives the zombie apocalypse, man. It's impossible, man. Just to read a few more stats that Raf has given me. You missed a couple. In Ten Hag's tenure, Man United beat a team in the top 9 away from home just once. Who was that team? I'd love to know who the team is. Because let me think about it, right? We never beat City away. We never beat Arsenal away. We never beat Chelsea away. We never beat Liverpool away. We never beat Spurs away. Brighton, we beat Brighton. Maybe they're in the top 9. Maybe that's the one. Brentford, we never beat away. West Ham, we never beat West Ham away. Villa. It was actually Villa. Fair enough. We actually did the double on Villa last year. I can't believe it. I completely forgot. They've never won away versus the Big Six. That I just told you. The last season, they conceded more shots than 94 European sides. Only Sheffield United, deemed one of the worst teams in Premier League history, conceded more. They conceded 3+ goals on 24 occasions, more than any Premier League side in that course of time. And let me add a few more. Under Erik Ten Hag, we have seen some historic defeats. We witnessed a 6-3 demolition to Manchester City, where one of the only times in Premier League history, 2 guys scored a hat-trick in the same game. We witnessed an exit from the Champions League in a group containing Copenhagen and Galatasaray. We finished below both of them. We witnessed the worst defeat in this club's modern history. Make no mistake about it, this is no exaggeration. I witnessed the 6-1. I never thought it would get worse than that. That was one for me at that point, along with the Aguero moment, but in terms of a result that my team was directly involved with, that, for my lifetime, was the worst result I saw. Closely followed by the 6-1 to Spurs. The 7-0 completely blew that out of the water. The worst result in club history. And if you want to know how much Man United fans have given time to this guy, any other manager that lost 7-0 to Liverpool, he would have been turned on instantly. Think about it. If Barcelona loses to Real Madrid 7-0, is Hansi Flick in a job? If Real Madrid loses to Barcelona 7-0, is Ancelotti in a job? If Bayern lose 7-0 to Dortmund, is Vincent Kompany in a job? That result right there for me should have been the writing on the wall. Honestly, it could have very well been. And you look at that first season, which a lot of United fans hung on to in terms of giving Ten Hag credit in the bank. They wanted to hang on to that result, right? Or that season. We came top 4. We won a trophy. We went to an FA Cup final. On paper, it's a good season. And still, I would maintain it was a solid season. We got back to the Champions League. We broke our silverware curse. I went to the second season with a bit of hope. But at the same time, too, let's look at that season in particular. Lost 4-0 to Brentford. Lost 6-3 to City. Brighton did the double over us. Lost 7-0 to Liverpool. And post that Carabao Cup against Newcastle, it has never been the same. For me, Man United, post Newcastle Carabao Cup final, have been on a downward slope. They've been on a downward slope, man. It's been crashing and burning from that moment. That was the peak. It never got better for Erik Ten Hag since then. So for me, like I said, correct decision, and a decision that for me, whether you celebrate it outwardly or not, whether you want to give Ten Hag more respect or not, deep down, every United fan knows it's the right decision. And deep down, every United fan is relieved to put this in the back of their minds. And any United fan that tells me they're livid or they're disgusted by this or they're unhappy, bro, how long were we meant to give this guy? Were we supposed to just allow him to manage this team until we get relegated? I showed you guys our next 5 games. We got Chelsea, we got Everton, we got Leicester, we got Ipswich, we got Arsenal. I don't feel confident going into any of those games. And that's not being me negative here. We have 1 win in our last 8. We have 1 win away from home all season against Southampton. There was no hope in me that we would have won any of those games. At max, 4 to 7 points out of 15. There's a good chance United finished 14th, 15th. And by the way, let me make this very clear. I'm not saying any manager we get now, United are just going to go back to winning ways. I'm not deluded. Please don't gaslight me or paint me with that brush. We need to get this next appointment right. And my big worry is that Ineos have left it so late that is there a right appointment at this point in the season? We have 2 ways we can kind of go, right? 3, to be honest with you. The first thing we could do, Ruud van Nistelrooy has been given the interim manager on a temporary basis. Give it to him for the rest of the season. See how far he takes us. We reanalyze in the summer. Me personally, I'm not too fond of that decision. A, I don't want to see Ruud van Nistelrooy's legacy go burst into flames because he's not ready for this job. And B, I also just don't know Ruud van Nistelrooy. What makes him accomplished enough to manage Man United? Because he's a Man United legend. Because he won a cup with PSV. There's no guarantee that Van Nistelrooy is good enough for this club. The second option, give Van Nistelrooy the job until we find an actual interim manager that can safely see us till the end of the season and then look for a new manager. Now, that maybe opens up the possibility that we find somebody a bit more experienced, a bit more ready to get us short-term results, which if we go for an interim is really all that matters while we have the rest of the season to analyze and scope out the managerial market. That's the second option. And then the first option is we just go get a damn manager right now. And I think that's the next conversation here, right? Who's next? Who's the next guy up to bet? We've heard a few of the names. Xavi, Terzic, not Thomas Tuchel, Thomas Frank, Seb Hones. Today, the reports are that they're going to try and persuade and pursue Julian Nagelsmann away from the Germany job. I think that's very difficult, but I think it would be a very ambitious hire. Ruben Amorim. Obviously, I'm seeing Graham Potter and Gareth Southgate in the chat. Personally, I don't see either of them as the next Man United manager. Personally. How many of those guys are available? How many of those guys would be willing to leave their job right now? How many of those guys even have teams that would be even willing to negotiate for them to leave the job? And I think that's the biggest worry here because this was a decision for me that had to be made in the summer. It's already difficult enough as is in the current situation United are in to try and attract the best in class. Because now this is 8 managers, I think, that have been at the helm at United, right? Including interims. We've had Giggs, we've had Moyes, we've had LVG, we've had Jose, we've had Carrick, we've had Ranić, we've had Oli, and we've had Erik Ten Hag. That's 8 managers, or if you want to say 5. This job title is starting to be painted with a poison chalice, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. A lot of managers could potentially look at this, and yes, there's the allure of Manchester United. Yes, there's the massive salary that you'd be getting. Yes, there's the draw of the Premier League. But this is quickly appearing to be a position where managers come to kill their careers. So any self-respecting manager looking at this job, rightfully so, is probably a little apprehensive. You're going to have to convince me, whether it's through salary, whether it's through sporting guarantees, whether it's through contractual guarantees. The Man United job does not have as much allure as it did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when Sir Alex retired, excuse me. So it's going to be very difficult regardless. But now, to hire a manager mid-season, that's never an easy appointment. And it's something, by the way, that Man United have never done, or post Sir Alex. They've never hired a manager full-time mid-season. The closest they did was hiring Ranić in November or December and giving him the rest of the season. They've never brought in a full-time manager halfway through the year. Me personally, my preference is Nagelsmann. I think he's the best they could do. Now, is it the most likely? I don't think he's going to lead the German national team. I don't think he will. I'd be over the moon if he did. He's a manager that for me, I've admired for so long. I could find you a tweet from 2021 saying, I have a dream. And it's a picture of 4 pictures. And one of them is Julian Nagelsmann at Old Trafford. But I don't think he's going to, man. The World Cup is so far away. Is it? It's what? We're almost in 2025. It's like a year and a half away. It's not that far away. When I look at smaller managers, I look at the likes of Thomas Frank. I even look at a guy in Andoni Iraola. And a lot of people might laugh at that because he's the Bournemouth manager. But I don't think he'd be the worst appointment. Honestly, who are Man United now to be turning their noses up at guys like this? I really think United fans now, we need to temper our expectations. I'm always the one saying maintain the standard, maintain the standard. I get that. But we're in no position to be turning our noses up at managers. At all. Who do we think we're going to get? Do you think we're gonna attract, I don't know, who's the big managers that in world football today? Do you think we're going to go and pull Luis Enrique from PSG? Not a chance in hell. Do you think we're going to pull, I don't know, Jurgen Klopp away from Leipzig? It's not going to happen. So for me, a guy like Iraola, look, he's not the biggest name. There's no guarantee that he's going to win United the trophy. But can he improve Man United at this current moment? get them to the end of the season, get us playing better football, have a better eye for talent in the recruitment and in the window, I would say yes to all of them. But one thing I have to say, right? And that's not to say, by the way, Iraola is my number one choice. I'm just kind of throwing you guys names. But one thing for me, and I'm going to make a whole tier list video, chat, in terms of which manager I think is the top, we should be our top selection, which manager we should stay away. I'm going to make a whole video on that. The criteria for the next Manchester United manager, they have to take off a few boxes. For me, the number one thing is not tactics, it's not results, it's not style of play, it's none of those. Those are all important. But the number one priority for me, for the next Manchester United manager, is charisma. It's personality. Man United is more than just a job at Aston Villa. No disrespect to Aston Villa, please. Don't get it twisted. It's not a job at Aston Villa. It's not a job at Bournemouth. It's not a job at Leicester. It's not a job at Roma. It's one of the biggest jobs on the planet. And for me, managing a club of that status, of that stature, requires more than just a good tactician. For all extents and purposes, Erik ten Hag could go and do a brilliant job at a different team. I have never, if you've noticed, said Erik ten Hag is a rubbish tactician. I do think the job was way too big for him, both in terms of handling superstars, in terms of handling media pressure, in terms of speaking to the fans, in terms of speaking to his players. That are all massive objectives. And of course, the tactical side of the game, he also failed. But I wouldn't be surprised if Erik ten Hag went to Leipzig and succeeded there. I wouldn't be surprised. But managing Man United comes with more expectation than just being a good tactician. For me, a job of that status, the Arsenals, the Uniteds, the Cities, the Liverpools, the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas, the Bayern Munichs, you need to have the personality to be able to represent a club of that stature. You are constantly against the knives of the media. You are constantly under fan pressure. You are dealing with the biggest superstars on the planet. You are under constant expectation to get results, under constant expectation to play in a certain style. But for me, the biggest thing for all of them is to have the personality. That's why, for me, I admire a manager like Ange Postecoglou so much. And that's not to say Ange is a perfect manager. For me, he's naive in terms of his defensive approach. I think his recruitment hasn't been the greatest throughout the board. But when I look at the way he carries himself, the way he speaks to the media, the way he speaks to his players, the way he's up 3-0 at Old Trafford and still upset on the touchline because his players aren't executing orders, I absolutely love that. For me, that's the kind of man that can go to a top-level club and won't shrink under the expectation. I look at a Maresca. I didn't know much about Maresca before he came to Chelsea. All I knew about him is he won the league with Leicester. For me, that doesn't really spark alarm bells in my head. But the way he's carried himself at Chelsea in these first few months, the way he's answered questions, the way he's made tough decisions, the way they've all worked out because he's made sure they work out. It's admirable. The way I look at Mikel Arteta in his 3-4 years at Arsenal, it wasn't easy in the first few seasons. Let's not kind of twisted. 8th and 8th, then 5th, but he was firm. He was confident. He spoke with personality. He spoke with charisma. He was demanding. Arne Slot, another great example. Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho. These guys all have massive personalities that suit the level, the status of club that they have. So for me, the most important thing that Man United need to look for in their next manager is that this guy is big enough for the club. Not in terms of his resume or his repertoire, but is this guy ready to manage a club of this stature? When you look at Erik ten Hag, all across the board, everything says no. Secondly is the sporting project. What is the identity that this guy wants to play? Now, for me, this is less important at Man United than it has ever been. Because previously, before Ineos, you were working under a stewardship of the Glazers, Ed Woodward, Richard Arnold, John Murtaugh. None of these guys are elite footballing men. Most of them are bankers and businessmen. And quite frankly, the manager was expected to do everything in terms of recruitment, tactics, media stuff, everything is on him. They're not working under a supreme sporting director. They're not working with extremely excellent scouts. They're not working under a top-notch board. But now, ideally anyways, with Ineos, the sporting identity of how Man United want to play should already be decided by the higher-ups. And it should go down to the board, the recruitment, the scouts, the first team management, the first team, the under-23s, the under-21s, the under-18s, the under-15s. The identity of how Man United want to play should be a club identity. It shouldn't be a managerial identity in that every single manager you get, oh, they have their own ideas and they come in. That's a big reason why Man United have failed, because you've gone from a David Moyes to a Van Gaal to a Mourinho to an Oli to now a Ten Hag. They all have different ways they want to play, and that comes with them wanting to bring their own players in. And then when the next manager comes, they don't want those previous players because they play in a completely different way. So they bring their new players, but they can't get rid of the old ones because they're on big salaries. That hypothetically under Ineos should 1000% be out the window. You should now have, from the top to the bottom, they should have established that no matter who the manager is, this is the way we approach football. So I do think football, it's like sporting identity, footballing identity is now less important in terms of who we hire as the next manager than it has ever been. So for me, the second thing, in my opinion, that matters massively is what kind of football does Man United want to play? And that, like I said, should have already been decided. I have been so tired of watching Man United under Erik ten Hag these last few years. Incapable of organizing a defense. Incapable of actually dominating games over two halves, let alone over two games. Failing to create enough chances. And then when they even started creating chances, failure to even score them. Man United need to hire a manager, in my opinion, that plays exciting, attacking football. This fan base deserves it. That stadium deserves it. There's certain clubs that it's not enough to win in a certain way. It's not enough to win in any way, excuse me. Clubs like Barca, clubs like Arsenal, clubs like Real Madrid, clubs like Man United. It matters how you do it as well, too. And I think United have gone away with that in the last 12 to 24 months of Erik ten Hag. I think the next manager that they get has to return exciting football that gets the fans off their feet, that makes us lean forward and get excited every time we get the ball, that allows us to have hope when we go to these big away games at Anfield, at the Etihad, at the Emirates. Because for too long, we've gone to those games knowing it's a loss before we even kick a ball. Teams are coming to Old Trafford. Forget about going away. Teams are going to Old Trafford. And there's no fear anymore when they see the United team on the other side. Teams used to come to Old Trafford and look to the side and see Vidic, Rooney, Ronaldo, Giggs, Cantona, Van Nistelrooy, Beckham, Sir Alex. They lost the game before a ball is even kicked. And I know we're a long way away from that. But we've gone so far left that teams come to our own ground, our own tunnel at Old Trafford, look to the side, and they have no fear. They're hitting us with goals within 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. Because they know, bro, one goal against these guys, they're going to mentally crumble. The next manager has to build a siege mentality with this club. And then I'm sorry, for me, I think it is massively important that we hire someone with experience. Like I said, I wouldn't mind an Iraola. I wouldn't mind a Thomas Frank. I think they'd be risks, but I think any manager that United hire right now would be a risk. But United need to hire a manager that's ready to win trophies. Because for me, this idea that under Oli, it's okay that we're doing well in the league, but we never win trophies. Or under Ten Hag, it's okay that we do shit in the league because we're only winning trophies. No elite club thinks like that in either sense. Man United are a club so big and so powerful and so heavily backed financially that the expectation for this football club is that we challenge on all fronts. No elite club ever has been only judged on how they do in cup runs. It's a ridiculous notion that just because Ten Hag won 2 cups, everything was fine and dandy. The fact that he had the nerve to say, we rescued the season last year of the FA Cup. Are you fucking mad? We finished 8th place, and we were lucky to finish 8th place, by the way, huh? All the underlying stats had us far below that, but we rescued the season because of a cup run. Nonsense. At the same time, for me, I'm not comfortable enough watching my team just be happy to finish 3rd in the league and we throw away cup competitions or we always fall at the last hurdle. The expectation for a club of this stature is to get us firing at every single level. So let's see what happens, man. It's going to be a busy week on this channel. Let me tell you that right now. We're going to be doing tier lists. We're going to be reacting to news. I'm really excited for it. I'm really, really excited for it. I'm telling you, when I saw that, this now has me excited to make Man United content again. Genuinely. I've been so drained watching this team and having to come up with things to say. And people are getting on to me because we score goals or we concede goals and I'm lifeless. There's no expression on my face. And it's not because I don't care. It's that this team has taken the excitement out of it for me. Honestly, I don't look forward to watching Man United games anymore, or I haven't for a long, long time. And some people might say you're a fake fan for that, but I'm being honest here. And I think a lot of people would mimic that as well too. I think a lot of people would agree. It feels like a chore watching us play. We watch every single game because, guys, like it or not, it's like a drug. We're all addicts to our teams. We want to pull away. If I could stop watching Man United for the last 10 years, I would have, trust me, but I can't. It's in my blood, bro. So we watch the games almost out of expectation or out of necessity. But genuinely, it's been a chore watching this team for the last 12 months. And now for me, there's a bit of excitement that things appear like they could maybe get a little better. For me now, I'm excited to see what can Van Nistelrooy do with this team in a short amount of time. I'm not expecting us to beat Chelsea, but let me see something different. Let me see a different approach to things. Let me hear a different voice in the media. I think things have gone extremely stale with Erik ten Hag. And that's another thing with the guy, right? I was telling Abs, right? Because Abs, right? Abs is a good dude. Abs is never going to be the guy to say Ten Hag out, Ollie out, Mourinho out. That's the way he runs. He doesn't believe in casting out managers. He believes let things happen, but I'm going to back every manager. That's not the way I roll, but fair enough. But even him, I know Abs. Abs is the first SDS member I ever met. I've known him for a long time. I knew he was sick of it. Because Abs, above anything, values good football. He believes in a project, all that stuff, but he values good football. However, I told Abs, right, I understood why he was a big Ollie fan. Me, not so much. But I told him I could understand why you and numerous other United fans stuck with Ollie till the end. You believed in the guy. You wanted to see him given more chances. You thought he was harshly treated. I didn't agree, but I understood. Fair enough. The results over the first 2 years were actually pretty good in terms of like the grand scheme of things. But regardless, I believe this time was over, but I understood why United fans had a connection to the guy, why they wanted, they felt for him. He's a club legend. He is Man United just as much as anyone. He loves the club. He had big moments for us. And you see the way he spoke in press conferences wasn't the most like dominating of a press conference, but you could tell he always had the club's best interests at heart. I looked at a Mourinho. I was similar with Mourinho. I love Mourinho. For me, he's my favorite manager ever. And I knew it was time for him to go, but I backed the guy till the end. Because of the way he spoke in press conferences, because of the charisma that he had, because of the personality, because it's Jose Mourinho, his track record, similar to LVG. With Erik ten Hag, genuinely, I asked this to Liban and Abs, and they couldn't give me a good answer. What was it about the guy that made you stick by him this entire time? The results have been awful. The football has been awful. The excuses he makes in press conferences have been awful. His press conferences, period, are awful to listen to. He has no inspiration in his voice to kind of get you going as a fan. No motivation. I stopped listening to the guy's press conferences. They don't do anything for me. I told Abs halfway through last season, his quotes read better in writing than they do in speaking. You read a quote that he says and you think, whoa, that might have been cold. Where he says, era's come to an end. Or last year he was saying, yeah, they talked to all these managers, but they came to the conclusion that the best one was at the club. It sounds cold in paper. Then you hear him say it. There's no inspiration behind those words. There's no fire behind the words. I saw a tweet that said United might be too far gone to save and might never get back to their best. Thoughts? I think that's bullshit. Liverpool went 30 years without a league title. Arsenal have just hit 20. United are on 11. Trust me, it's not good, but we're on 11. You look at both those clubs right now. They're amongst probably the best 5 clubs on the planet. In terms of success, in terms of footballing project, in terms of quality of player. They're amongst the top 5. What I will tell you is that, and I haven't said it on camera, but I do believe this, the way I feel as a United fan is similar to how I think Liverpool fans felt in the early 2010s under Roy Hodgson, under Kenny Dalglish for a little bit, when they had Jay Spearing, when they had Konchesky at left back, when you had, what's that guy, the center back's name with the ponytail, the Greek guy? Was it Krigios or Krigiakos or some shit like that? Liverpool were around 14th, 15th under Roy Hodgson at one point. Let's not get it twisted. That's how I feel as a United fan right now. But are United too far gone to ever compete for titles? Absolutely not. Why do I say that? I genuinely think United are too big to fail forever. I think they are. I think the amount of backing that they have in financially, the amount of power that they have commercially, the name Manchester United, like it or not, as much as I said it's kind of dwindled, it still holds a certain amount of weight. I think the people that they've hired in footballing positions, although I think they've made some suspect decisions in the last 3 months, I still believe in them in terms of their track record, in terms of their experience, in terms of their body of work. As you guys know, I love that word. I still think Man United are too big to fail long term. So let's see what comes with Man United. But for me, I reiterate it. It's a good day to be a Man United fan. And nobody can guilt trip me with that. Nobody.